Hello, friends and listeners, party people. Welcome back to another episode of Party XP. I'm your host, Lakan, and joining me is Jeff. Say hi, Jeff.
Hi, Jeff.
Dude, we're rolling. We got this again. I've been dying the last couple of days, but, you know, I'm finally back on the damn computer and I can actually record something again. I still sound terrible, probably, don't I?
A little bit.
A little bit nasally, a little bit sniffly, but yeah, it's been a rough couple of days here on my end.
Yeah, it has.
Yeah, I'm finally getting over this cold, but I feel human. It's fine. I can push through again here. I'm gonna give you a little bit of a break from the roguelike XP that we're doing here.
Thank God.
I'm sorry. I lied. No, okay, no. So this week I'm giving you a game. Have you ever heard of this game called Pseudoregalia?
No. No, I have not.
Okay, cool. So this came onto my radar early this year. I want to say like January. So Pseudoregalia is a 3D Metroidvania platformer game by indie developer Ritzler. The full game was released on July 28th, 2023, almost a year ago, actually, now that I think about it. And I learned about this game, again, early January of this year, and once I picked it up, I could not put it down. Early version of Pseudoregalia was developed in about 3 weeks as a submission for the Metroidvania Month 19 Game Jam, which took place between February and March 2023. The original version of this game actually won first place in that Game Jam, and it was released for free on itch.io. Since the full release, more specifically since I played it, there has been an update, and there are also plans for more updates from the developer as well. So in this game, you, as the player, control Sybil, I believe is the pronunciation of the name, an anthropomorphic goat-like creature who finds herself in a castle within a dream realm. This game is stylistically inspired by the PS1, N64, Dreamcast era video games with its low poly aesthetic. You can definitely tell that when you start this game up and you look around the world. It has a big focus of fluidity of movement and exploration. In my opinion, some of the best 3D movement I've experienced, like third person, like platformer, I've experienced in a long time. It's basically pretty open ended. So just experiment on how do you explore and traverse the world. That's kind of all I want to give you, because I kind of want you to just kind of dive into the game. And I don't really want to spoil anything else about it.
Okay. I'm looking at the community creation, Lakan. What kind of game is this? Because I just see Renamon with thick thighs. I see character with a giant ass and big thighs. I can't, my family's around. I can't just play this game alone. Okay,
so yes, Sybil is like a dummy thick goat rabbit lady character. Ignore that. Just ignore that part of
It's gonna be a little difficult.
Yeah, you can put pants on her. It is the community is very horny.
Yeah. Yes, I can tell.
Ignore that part and just enjoy the game exactly for what it is in terms of like the movement and the exploration and then 3D platforming. Okay. It is not a sus game. I swear to you, it is not a sus game. I know that I have a reputation. I feel like now, but it is not a horny game. Trust me on this one.
Okay.
I can feel you judging me.
No, I'm excited. I'm actually watching like the game, the way the game is supposed to be, and it looks pretty cool. Like it definitely does give you that whatchamacallit, like that fluid 3D movement.
Yeah, so and like I think it's like again like N64, cool. PS1. That's like fifth generation of gaming. I want to say, right?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. You can tell. It's funny because it feels like it's not fluid, but it is also at the same time. I don't know how to describe it, but it's a super unique platforming style and animation style. It looks really cool.
One thing I'll let you know now before you actually get started in the game, there is a 30 FPS mode and a 60 FPS mode.
Okay.
So you can run the character running at 30 FPS. So it has that kind of jagged to us now, right? Kind of aesthetic.
Right.
Or you can play, since you're playing on your computer. I played it on my PC and on my Steam Deck. Okay. And I ran it at 60, even though it felt a little bit out of place in terms of like the aesthetic of the game. But, just at this point now I'm kind of like spoiled, right? I want 60 FPS now at this point.
Right, of course.
But it doesn't feel bad playing it either way. It's just that like in my mind I was able to kind of like time my stuff a little bit better 60, just because it felt more fluid. But there is a mode for that in game.
Cool. Very cool. Yeah. I'm into it. It's definitely a cool looking game. I'm happy about the Metroidvania part of it. Oh look, there's even a speed run from earlier this year. Great.
Yeah, so I mean, I kind of game like this kind of does welcome it, obviously, right after you do an exploration of the game. But yeah, like just really free, like freedom of movement, freedom of exploration in this game. Not crazy long. I think I beat it in like 2 3 hour sessions.
Oh, that's cool. That's
yeah,
good.
like I remember it was legitimately one of those like weekends like where I saw it, and then I waited for like I guess like a paycheck, and I just bought it, and then I just couldn't put it down, kind of thing. Like like I was like I bought it like around like my midnight, just like played for like 3 hours. Like I should go to sleep, but I couldn't stop playing it, kind of thing. The next day, like it was like a weekend, right? So like okay, next day I finished my stuff and like okay, play it again, and then yeah, like I just like slammed through it. It's really really good. I'm hoping you really enjoy this one. I think this one kind of like scratched an itch that I felt like I haven't had in a while. Like again like a one of like the 3D platformers that I really haven't got to experience that in like a long. I mean, not like a long time because I've obviously played like Mario, Mario Odyssey and stuff like that. But like this scratches a very specific itch that reminds me of like Mario 64 if it's specifically expanded on that kind of generation of gaming.
Yeah, it kind of seems like it is paying a little bit of homage to like how great Mario 64 still controls as a 3D platformer, but also you have cool like Marvel jumps. I don't know how else to describe it other than like Marvel versus Capcom movement.
Yeah, yeah, I get you.
And all that. It looks really sick. I'm really excited. I'm gonna give it a shot for sure.
Cool. Okay, I'm really excited to see what you think of this game.
Mm-hmm.
Again, just don't ignore the horny people in the, don't scroll down on Steam. That's what I'm trying to say.
Too late. I'm already on page 26.
Oh no, guys, he's found the work. Okay, listeners, there's gonna be a short break here. For you guys, it'll be a couple seconds. For us, it'll be about we'll see how busy you are in these next couple days.
Yes, thank you.
When we are back from the break, we'll see how Jeff feels about Pseudoregalia.
Yeah, man.
Again, it's not horny.
Okay, I'll take your word for it.
Okay, listeners, we are back. It's been a couple weeks. Jeff, what did you think of Pseudoregalia?
It was fun. Like that's what I'll say. Like it was cool. I think at a different point in my life, I'd have a much better sort of review of it. But like, I think I'm in the minority of kind of what I felt about this game because every review I read was like, oh my God, this is the best game ever. It's kind of suffering from Shovel Knight syndrome again. Remember when we talked about Shovel Knight?
Yeah.
And it was like everybody called this game like the best thing ever. And then you play it, and then I played it, and it was kind of like, it was good, right?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like Pseudoregalia really kind of fell into that sort of, area again. I will say this, like, it is one of the coolest platformers ever, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think the movement is stellar. I think the way that you traverse levels is a lot of fun. I like the idea of you being able to go places that you're really not supposed to go. I think it's a very mediocre Metroidvania, though.
Okay.
If that makes sense. Like I think it tries to be both and it ends up not really hitting either really well. But I think that there's a really, really, really good game in here. And I think with some more like if they did like an HD remaster, I think it'd be ironic enough, right? Like an HD remaster of a game that's meant to look like a PS1 game.
That came out last year.
Right. If they did like kind of a remaster of this where the Metroidvania elements were a little updated, a little better, the big sticking point for me was the map. Like, I know it's there. I know it's better than it was. But like the game doesn't do a really great job of showing you where you are in a section.
Okay.
So basically it's like, well, okay, so I have to go through this door and then I have to like backtrack if I went through the wrong door that I didn't want to go through. And then, like, I have to then try to traverse to the other side of this area. But, oh, wait, this is the wrong door again because I went the wrong way again. But I can't get to the door I want to go through. And it would be helpful if I just had like, remember in Symphony of the Night how you would have like the dot where you exactly were?
Yeah.
That's kind of what I could use here.
Okay, so just a more pinpoint accurate map.
Right. And I have a few other nitpicks with the game too. Like it is kind of uncanny how you're playing a game, like you said, that released last year and it looks like a PS1 game. I will never get over the thick anthro goat mommy character. Like it's just not a game that I would probably play without you giving it to me.
Yeah, understandable. It wasn't kind of like on my radar either until I saw the platforming bit.
Right. So it's always kind of like I have to like look out of the corner of my eye to make sure nobody's like watching me play this game. Because like, so there's a difference. So like I'm currently in the midst of replaying Doom Eternal. So there's something a lot different between obviously playing, Musclehead Space Marine Slayer as a 34-year-old guy, and then playing a game with this cartoonish goat with huge thighs and an attire tab, because of course there was an attire tab in the game's menus.
Yeah, where the entire point of that is to add more clothes, which is helpful for seemingly a good amount of people who play this game.
Yeah, probably could have used another costume here. But and the other thing too, like the music was hit or miss. Like that opening stage with like the pendulum and the clock ticking almost put me to sleep. Like legitimately almost put me to sleep. The music kind of picks up a little bit, and I get that it's an independent studio, so something isn't going to be perfect, right? Because you have to sort of. I'd rather have a fun game with bad music than have a bad game with good music, right?
Yeah,
I guess that kind of makes sense.
In terms of experience, yeah, you're gonna get more out of the actual gaming experience than just the music itself.
So I thought it was good. By and large, I thought it was a good game. I think there's a great game here, but I think it's just good for as it is now. But with some quality of life updates, obviously. And I think also, too, like, I could only play this game in small chunks. I think if we got this game maybe earlier on in the podcast, I have a different opinion on it because I'm able to kind of play for 3, 4, 5 hours straight.
Yeah.
And, not have to do that not that Metroidvania thing where you don't play for a few days and then you start the game up again and you're like, all right, where am I? What am I doing?
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
What is this? And then, you have to backtrack quite a bit. And then it's like, oh, all right, I remember now. I remember what I was doing now. So I think it's just like, if you have a lot of time, it's better than if you're somebody that has to pick up and play in short bursts. I think you're going to get, unless you're just better at directions and this stuff than me. Because, I mean, I obviously have my shortcomings when it comes to, directional travel and whatnot. So that's what I would say.
Okay. Yeah, I understand that part as well. Because again, I mentioned it. I think I mentioned it in the first half, but I beat this game in the span of 2 days. Like I couldn't put this game down. So I played it for 3 hours, and then I played for another 3 hours basically. And being like really, really in it helped, obviously, because again, the game when I was playing it didn't have a map, so I had to like kind of remember where the hell I was. And I had to literally open like a Steam community tab, of somebody who drew out a map, to like locate where the hell I was. And, there's no live tracking there. So yeah, I get like the Metroidvania exploration thing and trying to remember what, backtracking, navigation is a little harder to do when you're, putting it down regularly. I think this is again like a good game that's like a session game where you play for 2-3 hours, put it down, then you finish it in like at least another 1 or 2 more sessions. Because again, the game is not very long; it's like 5 to 6 hours. The biggest like feature of this game, right, is the movement. That's kind of like the biggest, the biggest enjoyment that I got out of this game. Like, yeah, sure, like the low poly kind of like 5th generation of gaming aesthetic was like pretty nostalgic, right? Yeah, the music is like not my cup of tea either. Like it's nothing really stood out for me. A couple pieces that were like a little bigger and more cinematic feeling, but didn't really stick in my head. But again, the biggest point of this one is the gameplay. So I guess we'll start off with this game. Kind of start from the beginning then. So you mentioned the clock tower, right? The little dungeons area, right? You start off with basically nothing, right? Eventually, you then right off the bat you find Dreambreaker, right? That's the name of the sword you're using in the game. And then it gives you what? I think it gives you like one ability right off the bat afterwards.
You get the slide.
The slide, yeah. And when you got the slide, did you try like slide jumping right off the bat?
I think so. I think I was trying to do as much as I could with this thing because they gave you nothing. Like I was like, well, I got to do something here, right?
Yeah. Okay, so
I gotta be able to do something here.
Yeah, I did the same thing where I was like, okay, well, I know this game is movement inspired, so like I tried doing the same thing. I was like, I wonder if I could like slide jump or whatever. And it doesn't really happen because it kind of gives you something else later on. I think that makes it a little bit easier down the line, but it does help you navigate because you do get a nice little speed boost when you do the slide, and then it throws you basically into like a boss fight right off the bat, like a very simple boss fight.
Yeah, I thought that was fun, and like unfortunately, you don't get that many of them.
No, yeah, because
it kind of sucks.
Yeah, but again, short game, you only have, I think 2, right? I think that's really it. There's only like two or three real boss fights in this game,
and that sucks.
Yeah,
because they're fun. Like it's a fun. The combat is fun. It's one of the fun things about the game. And I just felt like it was a kind of a missed opportunity to not do more boss fights and do more with the combat rather than just having like these kind of lifeless little characters that just exist for you to kill and get your meter back, right? Like,
yeah,
it was kind of rough.
Yeah, because like most of the common enemies are like the little egg guys, right? The tuba kids, the living swords. Yeah, there's only like 8 real enemies in this game. Yeah, so like the half-hatched eggs, the tuba kids, living swords, spiked wheels, thunder hands, the handmaids, living armor, which are like they're difficult in the beginning and then they kind of just become fodder down the line.
Yeah,
and the chandeliers, and that that's really it. Again, aside from the 2 boss fights we really get, and again, the first fight is a living armor, right? If I remember correctly.
Yeah. Something like that.
So again, early on, I was like, oh, this is kind of rough, and then like later on, oh, this is just that it's just a dude. You'll just beat him eventually. So yeah, I wish there was more to the boss fights. Again, like single dev, that's a bit of the thing. Again, I have to remind myself of this game. The combat, like while being is very simplistic. Again, I wasn't really focusing on it for the most part, right? And then you get out, and it basically kind of just throws you into the main castle, right?
Yep.
And then at this point, you essentially have one option to go, and then the game spreads open from that point on.
Right. Once you get the main power up of the game is when it really opens things up.
So we have, and again, like most of the power ups are going to be just what's it called? Movement options for the most part, right?
Right.
So if I remember correctly, the Sun Greaves is the first big item you get, right? Okay, cool.
That's kind of the main item in the game. It feels like to me.
Yeah, and definitely I thought it was like the bread and butter of the movement in this game. Is like this combined with one other thing, basically. The what's it called? Shit. Like the pogo jump.
Yeah. Exactly.
I forgot the name of that one. Was that one?
I don't know anything other than the Sun Greaves. I don't remember because basically I was just kind of like hanging on by the seat of my pants, just trying to beat this game. Basically,
I get it. Yeah, and the exploration part of this game and the movement part of this game is kind of like this is what I experienced on my second run of this game. Was that like because even in the first run, I was going to places that I didn't think I was supposed to be in because of the way you can take advantage of the movement in this game, right? So the Sun Greaves allows Sybil to do a kick, which propels her in the direction of the kick, right? And if she makes contact with a wall, she will kick off in the opposite direction or at the opposite angle that she landed the wall on. So you can use it to kind of scale walls, like, by add a little bit of extra air, for 2 or 3 jumps or whatever. You can use it to propel yourself forward, right? By like kind of like going forward and then turning yourself like 270 or like 180 degrees or technically less than that, I guess, to hit the wall, from the direction you were just coming from to propel yourself forward more. And then you get like a backflip out of your kick animation, your wall bounce animation. And I think that backflip is like one of the greatest things that I experience in movement games, like
right.
ever, because it's so intuitive to work with the Sungreaves, like the wall kick. Because usually when they think of like the backflip in most movement games, right? Like if I'm gonna take like like Mario Odyssey or Mario 64, right? When you do the backflip, you crouch for a second and then you jump super high, and with a little bit of drift forward and backwards, right? But it's usually mostly used to like scale, right, for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
In this game, that backflip is like your finisher essentially for traversing, because it launches you up a little bit right at the end,
mm-hmm.
and allows you to grab platforms that you were initially facing away from, because you do have to aim at the platform you want to grab onto.
Yeah, that's kind of like the one thing. Being able to effectively grab was like the first kind of hurdle that I encountered playing the game, because like sometimes I'd overshoot or I'd undershoot because I didn't quite understand how that all worked.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, but like once you figure it out, it gets a little easier to traverse things. But before then it was a little rough, and I'd be like, sometimes you'd go to like grab, but then you'd end up wall kicking.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, fuck, I wall kicked. I didn't mean to, but the wall kicking was a lot of fun. Being able to do like Magneto jumps is the only way that I know how to call it, like the triangle jumps kind of.
Mm-hmm.
Were really sick. And that was kind of like the first thing where I was like, wow, okay, this game is a really good platformer because it gives you this level of movement opportunity. And I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, the freedom that the game just kind of gives you, because again, like it is a relatively simplistic game in terms of like story and lore. It just kind of throws you into it and just says have at it, right? And it doesn't tell you if what you're doing is right or wrong. So again, like on my first play, I just assumed that I was somewhere I wasn't supposed to be.
Yeah, exactly.
And I guess technically, yes, I went to like the fourth area when I wasn't supposed to be there, because I essentially gimmicked my way over there, if you want to call it that, right, by abusing the movement mechanics in a way that I shouldn't be there. But the game also technically is allowing you to do so. I ended up grabbing like the long bridge, the broken bridge.
Yes.
So I got there after I got the slide jump, or sorry, I got there before I got the slide jump. So I just like it's just a really tight timing, right? It's just like it's the jump, slam into the ground to do a high jump, right? And then a wall kick towards the other side of the bridge. You're still super far away. And then I turn myself right at the end 180 degrees and then do a backflip to just put myself in reach of the ledge. And like I cheesed my way over there before even getting the long jump. Did you have something like that where like you put yourself in a place that like using the other movement mechanics to kind of bypass a quote unquote like Metroidvania-esque like lockout?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, I do remember having to like triangle jump. I can't really describe what exactly it was. Like I can't like recall it, but I know that it was an area that I definitely needed something else to at least reach easier.
Mm-hmm.
But then, like I was able to kind of like kick my way up to the platform and like flick switches and whatnot, and it kind of did feel like I wasn't supposed to be there, but I ended up getting there. And like I know there was a situation, I think it was like in the barn or whatever that is, where you're supposed to like jump over something. There's like a whole jumping puzzle, and I felt like I just kind of like jumped around it and then got to where I needed to get to.
Okay.
And like I thought that was pretty cool. I was like, all right, I'm in a good spot here.
Okay, yeah. So like one of the dark rooms, I think I just cheesed. I didn't even realize it. You know what I mean? Like one of the rooms where like you're supposed to get like the lit up version of your sword. I didn't get it.
Yeah.
But like you can kind of abuse the shadows of the game, right? Like because there's like a light in the background. You can kind of use it to like give yourself like an idea of where the platforms are. I did one of those as well too, where I kind of cheesed my way through just by like just saving myself using like just wall kicks and like backflips just to like grab onto a ledge just before falling off into the pit. But yeah, like again, like that's kind of like again the whole point. And then like my view of the game was very different upon my second play, because like
you've played this twice. Okay.
Yeah. Because again, like the first play was me learning the game and like learning most of the mechanics and like, okay, I can abuse things here kind of thing, right? Yeah. And on my second play was me taking more knowledge in, like watching some other people play the game and see where they do skips. Do they skip certain pickups? You know what I mean?
Yes.
Because the one pickup that changed my game after learning how to do all the wall kicks and stuff like that was the cling gem. The one that one that allows you to like do the long grabs against the walls, right? And lets you kind of just like wall run essentially.
Right. Okay.
So, because you need that to get, I think you need that one, to get to the end of the game. Because right after they cross the bridge and to get to the top tower, I think.
I think so. It's all kind of like.
Yeah,
I have to be honest with you. It's been a long time since we got together and played and talked about this originally, and it's been a little while since I played the end of this. So like,
okay,
I think you're right. I think that wall run mechanic is definitely necessary, just because it's the only thing that traverses that much area.
Yeah, and then there's like specific areas that are built for it, that you can't really do a whole lot to play around it.
Right.
There have been a couple where you can kind of cheese it by doing that, like do the 3 like forward propelling wall kicks, right?
Yep.
But
to try to like boost your way up slowly but surely,
as far as possible. You know what I mean? To just cover as much distance as possible, especially once you get the slide jump. But that wall cling is the game changing like item. It unlocks a lot of vertical movement as well too, because at that point you can kind of just cheese wall right up a wall as well too, which is kind of makes climbing up, and you can kind of just skip a lot of like having to work your way up like a very skinny wall area, very precise wall bouncing and stuff.
Right. It also helps when you're doing the platforming section and like you inevitably fall off of something and you have to spend like the next eternity trying to get back up to like your thing, like get back up to where you were. It definitely helped. And that was one of like the big frustrations. It's like if you fall, you're fucked, man. Like there's nothing. Like it's kind of like Mario 64 in that realm, which wasn't like super unfamiliar to me, but like it sucked. There were times where I would seriously like reload my save if I fell, and I'd be like, well, let's try this again.
Yeah, I get that, because the way the game treats it is it responds you to your last safe standing point, essentially, right?
Yep. The little gem things, the crystal things.
Yeah. So if you've done a bunch of work already and you lose all that progress, it can be a little bit frustrating to deal with. Is there any specific area in the game that you did or didn't like?
Man, I think the one that actually like stood out the most, because it was the only one that was a little different than like a white room, was like the barn. That barn area. I don't know what it's called. Everything else just kind of felt like I developed a game.
Okay.
And I have 0 game development skills, and it's like, well, here's a white background, here's a checkerboard background, here's a black background. I understand that it's supposed to be, number one, I understand that it's like a solo dev doing all of this, right? And I understand too that it's supposed to be a whatchamacallit, like a throwback. So like a lot of games in the past didn't have the most engaging backgrounds or areas, but like unfortunately, you're not making a game in 2002 anymore. You're making a game in 2020. I guess 2022 at this point. 2023 is when this came out.
Yeah.
We're all tainted. We've all played other games that have more engaging backgrounds and things like that. So like to have it be so drab and so boring was something else that made it a challenge to like
navigate.
Get back into it, because everything looked the same to me.
Okay.
And so it was tough for me to come back, like, which room am I in? Where am I? I don't know. And see, like, in the thing that I related to, of course, because I played it so much, was Symphony of the Night. And it's like, in Symphony of the Night, you knew where you were, kinda. Like, you had the map, obviously, and that was a big help, and you knew really where you were. But, like, if you were down below, you knew because you were in the water level. If you were up high, like, the rooms looked different. The rooms had character. And in this, it felt like the rooms were all the same character, and it was a guy in khakis and a polo t-shirt.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Very generic in terms of like the area design. Yeah, because it's the I guess like the locations we have. There's only I think 6 locations, right? It's the Castle Sansa itself, which is kind of the castle, the stone walls and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
The dilapidated dungeon, which is where you start off in,
right.
The listless library, which is kind of like that barn with the bookshelves that you're talking about.
Yeah. Yes.
Because that's like the first section you go. It's like the first section you kind of go to, and that's where you get the greaves. So you this is like the one thing that's like forces you to go here, and then from that point on, you can kind of just go wherever you want. After that is the Sansa Keep, which is kind of like a throne room area of the castle, right? Which has a little bit of like kind of like you can cut through different areas to go to different parts of the castle. The Twilight Theater, which is looks like a theater, and you're kind of playing backstage for the most part for this one, right? And with a big like open area, I do remember that. Like there's like an open area in like kind of like the basement looking area type of it kind of thing, which is like the ones that has like those golden orbs that allows you to do like the long jump for platforming. Which eventually that this essentially feels like the slide jump, the solar wind. Like it gives the same kind of golden flashing animation to your character as that specific ability. And then we have the underbelly, which is kind of like the it's just like a dark kind of purpley area. Unfortunately, it is that one was the one that I ended up kind of getting lost in during my first playthrough. Because it's just like purple stone basically the entire time, and a little hard to keep track of where you are. And then the underbelly. Oh wait, what did I just? No, yeah, the underbelly, and then the tower remains.
Yeah,
which is again like that big, kind of your end goal to locate to essentially. And that's the one that gives you the cling gem, which allows you to explore more of the castle or kind of work your way up. In terms of there are some specific platforming puzzles that are kind of like required to get to certain things, to get towards the end game or to unlock the final door of the game, you had to do the platforming just outside of the tower, right? Where you realize there are a couple platforms on the broken spires or the broken what are they called? I'm pretty sure we learned about this in like middle school, but the stone pillars that are in front of the building.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, that's one of the movement puzzles kind of required to get to the top of the tower, right? Did you realize that right off the bat, or did you kind of like meander in that area and kind of accidentally find your way up there?
Oh no! Like I never discovered that before I was meant to.
Oh, okay.
No, yeah, I ended up getting there because it's like, well, this is the only place left. So let me just keep going up and up and up, and then eventually, luckily, I had all the keys. Because I swear to God, if I had to go back, I would have been it.
Okay.
If I missed a key, I was done. I was done.
So you happened to go get the keys, and you actually get the keys before you went to the final area.
I am an absolute stickler for finding the minute I saw the first hidden power up, I was like, okay, I gotta go search every nook and cranny.
Got it.
I ended up getting a fair amount, but no, when I play these games, I'm always looking for stuff. Once I know there's little things to find, I'm always looking for stuff. So luckily I found all the keys. Because if I didn't, no, I was done. I was gonna be like, there's no fucking way I'm going back and playing this game again.
So I ended up
just to try to find one key.
Yeah, so I ended up at the top of the tower after I found one key.
I would uninstall this fucking game. So
luckily, if you go to the top of the tower beforehand or early, again, I don't know if it was 1 or 2 keys, whatever. I got up there early because I just wanted to explore shit, right? It tells you because it'll put the I think it locks away the other ones that you've already picked up.
Okay.
So it tells you which ones you haven't been to yet.
Okay, so that's a relief.
That's why I ended up being like, okay, so I've gotten the what's it called, the listless library, because that was the first one you get anyway, right? And then I think I got the Twilight Theater second.
Okay.
So yeah, I think that's what it was. Yeah, because I remember I went to the tower, got the Kling gem, came back afterwards, some of that. Yeah, so because like certain areas does require specific like things to get through them, right? A lot of the other levels you can kind of get away with like cheesing through them. But yeah, so like once I got those, and then I went up to the top of the tower, it said, "Oh, you're missing these 3 keys." I was like, oh, "Okay, cool. I guess I gotta go back and fucking spend the rest of my time in those areas, right, and explore more." Okay,
Yeah.
okay, so that's a good thing for you then, because for me, it became like a bit of like a backtracking, like where the, again, more of that Metroidvania-esque kind of gameplay, like where the fuck am I kind of thing, and I have to
I
go back now.
kind of kicking myself because that would have been really funny.
Yeah.
If I got to the top, I would have probably called whatever time it was. I probably would have been like, "Get in here, we're recording right now. We're doing this stupid fucking game." Screaming about it, dude. I would have lost my shit.
Okay, so but yeah, I'm surprised that you're grab everything first kind of guy and explore first before doing the.
I don't want to miss anything. I don't know, man. And it's also like I want to explore everything. Very rarely. You have to like very rarely do I replay games that I beat, especially like single player games. But like obviously I love Doom, so like I wanted to re-experience those games, especially before the third one comes out here. But like once I kind of beat a single player game for the most part, I'm kind of like done with it a lot of times. It's very rare that I'll pick up a game again.
Huh.
But there are games that I will pick up multiple times. Obviously, like the Doom games are one of them. I have been thinking a lot about playing like the Digimon games again because I don't know. I've been like on a Digimon kick lately. So circumstances have to arise where I'll replay games again. But usually I'm like one and done. So I want to get as much out of a game as I can.
That's really surprising because like I'm the opposite for the most part. I think where
Right.
like Mario Odyssey, right? Like I 100%ed it in my first playthrough, and even during that playthrough, I was fucking around a lot. You know what I mean? Like I was trying to do like speed run strats, even if I wasn't speed running, right? I just like, oh, I heard this lets you skip like, you know, climbing like one of these like in the snow area. I was like, it lets you skip climbing this entire mountain, and you can grab one of the moons there. I was like, okay, cool. I'm gonna fucking spend half an hour trying to do this long ass jump.
Right.
So, but then like once I beat the game, I'll put it down for a little bit, but then I'll start just like playing through it again. You know what I mean? Doing specific sections that I want to only. And I think it's also partially because like I do have a bad habit. I think you've talked to me about this weird habit of mine, where I will also not finish a game for like I'll have a game at like 90% done or like 99% done.
But you just got to get over the hump.
But I won't finish it for like 6 months.
Yeah.
I'll just like put it down, and then like one day I'm just like, okay, time to go beat the final boss. You know what I mean? And I'll finish the game because I think it's like I don't want the game to finish. You know what I mean?
No, that makes a lot of sense. And look, things happen. Like, you know what I mean? Things happen, right? I just talked to you about it because it was Hades, and I'm like, well, hey, look, like I beat this game, and this is your genre, and I beat a game before you beat a game. So like, you gotta finish this. That was the only game where I was like, okay, you really need to play this.
Yeah, and then like luckily enough, I beat it in like my 20-something run.
Right.
So I was like, okay, yeah, I did. I was like on the verge of it. I just like didn't actually. You know what I mean? Again, that's kind of lines up with the same thing where like I'm like right at the edge of it and I don't want to finish it, but then like I should just do it and get it over with kind of thing, you know. But yeah, back to the original point that I was trying to expand upon here. But yeah, for you, you're a one and done kind of guy, so you don't even go back with like a fresh look at like, okay, now that I know all the movement tech and shit. What can I skip and what can I kind of zoom past kind of thing? You didn't go for like a start of a second run.
No. What? Put myself back in the dark dungeon again? No. I'm good.
Okay, yeah, because I think that was like one of the biggest points for me of enjoyment was doing the second run after I had beaten the game, because now I'm looking at like an area that I've that like was like, okay, like I'm getting through it, but it's not like not the smoothest exit of this area, right? But then like on the second run, I'm like like partially speed running the like certain bits of the game now. You know what I mean? Okay, so that's not something that you were interested in or looking to try in the first place. Okay, that's fine.
I think that like you bringing up Mario Odyssey, like open something in my mind, because it's not Mario 64 that's the game that I'm thinking about. It's definitely Mario Odyssey is the game that I'm thinking of, that like shattered all of these movement options, and like with all of these unique vibrant worlds, right? That's definitely the game that kind of, if I never played Mario Odyssey, I'd probably like Pseudoregalia more.
Okay.
But because I've played Mario Odyssey, and that's another game that I would love to revisit one day, it's just I'm not paying $60 for it because Nintendo. I think that's one of the games that's always sticking in my mind of this game did movement fantastic, and it didn't sacrifice anything else. Also, it's Nintendo, so like it's not one guy in a room by himself, but like it's hard, especially for me who gets, an opportunity to play limited games, especially these days, to it's hard to not think of that and kind of put these games in a vacuum.
Okay.
Which sucks, but it's just the reality of the situation.
Yeah, because I found why I ended up on this game was because I was craving another 3D platformer, right? Because I'll agree with you on that. Where Odyssey is kind of like the pinnacle of like freedom of movement, right? For the most part, in a without basically giving you full like Titanfall style movement, in terms of a 3D platformer, like
realistic movement. Yeah, like realistic movement.
Yeah. In regards to like, okay, we can give you this. We can realistically give you this and not break the game. Like there's still limitations set upon you, but obviously, the game and the people around the game still allow you to kind of like abuse mechanics and kind of push it to its furthest extent possible, right? I was craving that. And I think that's why this eventually ended up in front of me, right? And yeah, again, you do have to kind of confine yourself a little bit, right? And because clearly it's inspired by a different era of games. This is again inspired by that PS1 and 64 era of video games in the first place. If I think like if I put it in that kind of framing, then I can see it. I can tell myself, this is better than Gex, right?
Wait, hold on. You are not slandering Gex the Gecko right now.
Gex the Gecko is a little questionable sometimes.
This is like a luau at Richard Simmons' house.
It's a different time.
Don't cancel Gex. He didn't know any better. He's like your uncle. He just doesn't know any better.
But yeah, if again, I'm gonna compare it to like a Mario 64, right? If in the most real in the most like for probably the closest of matchups, right?
Right. Even though we shouldn't
because this is still modern. This is still modernized, right? It still feels more intuitive than 64, because 64 definitely has some kind of like the wall kick. You wouldn't think of that if you're a kid, Mario 64, until somebody told you that you can do that to gain a little bit more air, right?
Yeah.
It's different than like playing like a Mario 64 movement is obviously it like now looks like Unga Bunga movement compared to like Mario Odyssey. You know what I mean? Like, but like if we're gonna compare Pseudoregalia, it's like like Mario 64. What's like the big PlayStation equivalent that would be like a platformer, like a 3D platformer? Is there one?
A modern 3D platformer that isn't Mario Odyssey.
Yeah, that isn't like, or no, like sorry, like of the time, like PS1.
Maybe like Banjo-Kazooie? Conker's Bad Fur Day? I don't know. I'm just trying to think of like all those games from that time.
Yeah, but like I'm thinking like PS1 specifically, because again, if Mario 64 is
Bubsy 3D.
You can throw Bubsy in there, bro. We've offended the three Bubsy fans.
Listen, Bubsy is funny. Maybe like Spyro, Crash Bandicoot.
Yeah, maybe Spyro more, because again, Spyro does have a little bit more like kind of like
the open exploration kind of thing. Yeah. Okay.
And a little bit of like you can abuse like the glide to like clip into walls and carry you a little bit further. Stuff like that. You know what I mean? So if we're gonna compare it to those, like again, like if we're gonna try to put myself into that mindset, right? It's like, okay, then yes, this would be peak of then, right? But yeah, I understand. Yes, I understand your point in that, like, if we're gonna compare it to modern 3D platformers, right? It is now like lacking in comparison. But again, we have to take into account as well too, single developer versus an entire team If we're gonna keep using Mario Odyssey as an example, Mario, the mascot character for a brand, you know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, they're not gonna put him into a fucking shitty experience, especially on their new console at the time.
True.
Yeah, it's gonna be very refined versus this being again kind of like it was a game jam game, right? I mentioned it before, and they kind of like took it and ran with it and expanded on it some more. I think your point is not wrong. Where there is like a gem kind of buried under here, right?
Yeah.
I would love to see like a part 2, like a Pseudoregalia 2.
Dude, I think a part 2 with a few more quality of life changes, and this game would be so sick. Like in the long line of sequels being better than the originals, I think this would be one of them, dude.
Yeah,
there's already a gem here, but there's like a diamond in the gem, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Because like again, like there is that core gameplay loop, right? The platforming, which already feels pretty tight as it is.
Yes.
And if they can just kind of refine it a little bit more, make the aesthetics a little bit easier to read, like the map design a little bit easier to read.
Absolutely. I think that's the one thing standing between me and this game, like especially nowadays, is like having a stronger map and a stronger presence of where the hell I am in this drab world, basically.
Okay. Yeah. Because I would like to see what they do here. Because like even if the game jam was the prototype, this still feels like a prototype to an extent. If that makes sense.
It does.
Right.
It definitely feels like there's something more coming, because it is, again, like you said, like you beat it in two sessions. Like you know what I mean. It's not horribly long. Even for a platformer and even for a roguelike, and I keep saying roguelike because we do so many fucking games.
I didn't do a roguelike this time. It was you.
I know. Like a Metroidvania. I think there is definitely more here, but it's a great it's a great foundation.
Yeah. Again, I just wanted to see if you like this one. Again, I enjoyed the hell out of this one when I played it. I know you're big on platformers and 3D platformers in general as well too, so that's why I thought you and I had a nice shot at this one. So
yeah, no, don't get it wrong.
Yeah.
Like I did enjoy it, especially the platforming elements. It was the Metroidvania elements that kind of detracted everything from this kind of being what I felt like it could have been, right? So no, don't get it twisted. Like it's definitely a fun game. You got to try it out, especially if you have the time to kind of dedicate to it. You should definitely give it a shot.
Yeah, sit down properly and actually play it.
Yeah, so don't have a kid.
So, jeez. So if we want to pick out, like, I guess this is a bit of a newer thing here, but I guess if you would have to put 3 major points you would like to see in a Pseudoregalia 2, what would they be?
Okay, good. This is a good question. Definitely an updated map.
Okay.
I think what I would love to see is an option to set it to more of a modern look. To kind of, I know the whole point was for it to be a throwback to the PS1, so everything looks like it's on a PS1, but to kind of give it the opportunity to at least modernize the look. It doesn't have, look, I don't need it to be, the pinnacle of graphical design here, but like just at least give me some smoother edges, give me like an updated character model, whatever, right? And then
but still thick though, right?
Sure. Go for it. I'm not gonna say less.
Yeah, because I was gonna say, like,
world,
people are gonna be angry if you replace the thick goat lady at this point.
No. I'm not trying to get rid of thickness in the world, so leave her alone. And then maybe give us some more challenging fights. Because like you said, like there's basically like 2 what you would call boss encounters. There's like the one outside of the dungeon, and then like the final boss.
Yeah.
Right?
And
that's what you would say?
And that first boss again feels just like the armor fight eventually. It's just a regular ass enemy at that point.
Right. So I think they sold themselves short on the combat. I'd love to have seen kind of like, again, how Castlevania ends each encounter, each main section of the map with a fight, right? And I think that, but no, I was going to say that would kind of detract from it being kind of like an exploration type game to find the power-ups, but literally that's how you get power-ups in Castlevania games, right? You beat the boss, the final boss of an area, and you get the power-up, right? So that's kind of the way that I would like to see this kind of go, but I do understand that they wanted to preserve, probably at least, they wanted to preserve the exploration aspect of it, the platforming of it, to, you know, allow you to find these items on your own by kind of abusing the movement options, right?
Yeah, grab the power-ups in whatever order you want.
Right, that too, and that's another thing too. And it's something that I appreciate because Castlevania, for say what you will about it, does kind of follow a linear path. It's like, well, you can't get through here. You don't have the mist power-up. I mean, go anywhere else, but you can't go here until you get the mist power-up, right? Or whatever other power-up you know, in whatever other game you're playing, right? In this, it's like, well, if you can get here, it's yours.
Yeah.
However you get here, whether you get here the intended route or the non-intended route, it's here for you. So you just got to go get it. But so I do appreciate that, but I would love to see like some of those other things, like I mentioned, like, and the big sticking point for me, for whatever reason, I'm just stuck on it, is the map.
Yeah, understandable. Yeah, because
what about you?
Again, you're and just to expand right before the map thing is a big point. Yeah, in terms of Metroidvania games, or I think the Japanese term that they use, because Metroidvania is like a term that we use here in the West, is like search action game.
Okay.
It makes sense, but I'm gonna keep using Metroidvania because it's already in my vocabulary.
Correct.
Like if I look at like Ori, right? Ori, Hollow Knight. Obviously, the Metroid games themselves, like, it shows you exactly where you are, and it even shows you like where the exits are. You know what I mean? So, a clearer map, which would be, I'm kind of with you on that one. But again, like, obviously, the accuracy of the map is very, very important because at least it also lets you know exactly where you have and haven't traversed. Like, you know how in like some of the Metroid games, the map is also shadowed, the fog of war is there until, like, say, top right corner of a room. If you unless you wall climb all the way up, and then now you've seen the entire corner, the room's not actually fully cleared out. Even that is really important, especially in a 3D game where, you know, I'm like, I don't know if there's a hole in the floor, right, or a hole in the ceiling that I can jump up and grab onto a ledge to and sneak up to. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like like clarity is very, very important in terms of like a map for a Metroidvania game. For 3 things specifically to improve in this game, yes, the combat. Because the combat like feels, again, there's something there. It's very simple right now, right? But there's something there that I would love them to expand it on more with, like, give it almost like a Bayonetta-esque kind of combat style, right?
Yeah, because it's there. They have all the parts. You just have to give us something that doesn't die in 2 hits.
Because if the movement already has a lot of free flow and kind of play with it, make the combat do the same thing. Which they kind of do a little bit with it. You know you can kick the sword?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's like the one thing. I was like, oh shit, I wonder if I can ever use this for anything ever again. Really can't, because it kind of like, it requires you to throw the sword and then chase it down and make sure everything's lined up to make it work. You know what I mean? Like, let us have some more cool combo combat shit.
Right.
So that's like one for there. You know, I'll just make that map point same as yours. I'll join you on that one. And 3, honestly, I would like make more areas that are, honestly, this seems kind of like punishing, like, you know, make more areas that are like just barely out of reach. Like, you have to abuse every mechanic perfectly to grab onto them.
No, that makes sense. You want to be able to, like, there should be rewards for people that can do that.
Because there was a couple of those places in the map, but I would just end up there and like, oh, this just leads me to another area and doesn't really do anything for me. You know what I mean? Give me like a reward for it. Like, even if it's just like a costume piece. You know what I mean?
Right.
Just something. Because again, like, I'm also in the same boat where like I like 100%ing shit.
Right.
Like one of the other games that I was playing, I also just finished recently because I sat at it for like 99%. And I finally beat the final boss I literally just sat down and played for like half an hour, and I finally beat the final boss. What's it called? Not Cyber Shadow. What was it called? Fuck. Shit, I'm pulling it up right now because it's a very specific game that like it's a first person parkour game. Cyber. It's a very specific point that I'm trying to make here. That's why I want to point it out.
And I wanted to follow up something on that, but I know once I say it, I'm gonna distract you from it.
Okay, so yeah,
I'm just gonna let you do your thing.
Just hold on to the thought, please. Where the fuck is it? Ghost Runner? There we go. Thank fucking God.
Okay.
So Ghost Runner is a first-person parkour game, right? That very similar to like closer to like Titanfall than it is to Mirror's Edge, but there are some very very tight platforming sections that lets you unlock a new sword, right? Like, there's a fuck ton of it in this game. Just more of that in Pseudoregalia. Like, again, like really tight, off the beaten path. Like you can barely see a hole in the wall because of the pixels and the aesthetic, right? Or the lack of it, essentially. More of that. Like, I was like, you have to fucking kick through a door that doesn't look like a door, but it actually is. You know what I mean? Like you don't even realize it's interactable until you actually hit it. Shit like that, like secrets. You know what I mean? More secrets and shit. I think would be cool in a game like this.
Right. I mean, where else are they gonna put the sex minigame?
Okay, so fourth item, I want them to put a sex minigame.
I knew it. That's where I was going with this the whole time.
And I know I made it a point in the first half. The game is like, the game itself is not horny, but the player base definitely is.
Yes.
Look, guys, again, like I enjoyed this game. Jeff seems to have a pretty good time with this game. We just wished for more of it, or more from the game itself. It is $5.99 on Steam. It's a really good buy, in my opinion. Probably one of the best like $6 purchases that I made. Where like I got I got 6 hours of enjoyment right off the bat from the game. You know what I mean? So that I think is a really solid buy. Very very fun platforming, and I think probably one of the most like intuitive kind of movement mechanics in the game. And if you're craving that kind of 3D movement exploration type of stuff, I think this is probably one of the best pickups you can find on Steam right now.
Yeah, definitely. No, I agree. Like, I thought it was really good, but like there was just a lot of circumstances that weren't necessarily related to the game that kept me from like fully appreciating it. But also, like, I think there's some stuff that it does, I think, that keeps it away from reaching what I think is its pinnacle. But I'm not the only one. But like I'm on the minority side of that, because like you look at the reviews for this game and everybody loves this game.
On Steam it is an overwhelmingly positive rating.
Metacritic, I mean, there are like maybe 2 not positive reviews, right? And one's kind of like in the same boat as me, maybe a little more cynical about it than I was.
Yeah, I've seen like one where it's saying like, I wish I experienced this earlier before I've had more experience with 3D platformers. Like I've seen one of those comments before.
Yeah, no, I agree with it, but at the same time, like I think it's far from perfect, but I think it's really good.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. It's absolutely not a perfect game, but there is so much here that I enjoy, in terms of, again, like the gameplay, and strictly the gameplay. I'm not nothing else, just
nothing else,
just the gameplay. That I really enjoyed out of this game. Again, the sense of exploration, the like. Again, a little bit of it for me is like, ooh, I shouldn't be doing this, but I'm going to. You know what I mean? And then
exactly.
And then I realized, oh no, I was allowed to be here. Okay, cool, even better for me. But yeah, I think that's kind of really it for me for this one. Again, I appreciate. Thank you for giving this one a shot. Good to see we line up on most of the things here, at least in terms of like what this game is. So
definitely.
Again, I'm praying for Pseudoregalia too. I would love for this to be an expanded, kind of a series at this point.
I think it'd be really good. I think it'd be a lot better, and I think it would finally be able to reach the level it deserves to be at, for me at least.
Yeah, awesome, cool. Okay, listeners, thank you guys for tuning in. We hope you guys really enjoyed this episode. Leave us a like, leave us a review, share us with a friend. We really appreciate it. Again, we've been getting a lot of support from you guys in the last couple of episodes. We're really, really appreciate it, guys. And we'll see you guys in the next episode. Take care.
See you then.
So, Jeff, this is a comment that I found. I scrolled down a little too far, unfortunately, on the Steam comment on the Steam page for Pseudoregalia. Okay. So it starts off with a pretty good comment about like how they thought about the game. Although
no, don't set it up.
No?
Just read it. Just read it.
So we're just gonna read the bad part of this comment then, okay?
No, read the whole thing. I want to hear it start to finish.
Although the game itself is criminally short, the movement, environmental design, and PS1-esque inspiration are more than make up for it. A solid platformer to its very core and a must-own. On that note, no lube, no protection, all night, all day, from the kitchen floor to the toilet seat, from the dining table to the bedroom, from the bathroom sink to the shower, from the front porch to the balcony, vertically, horizontally, quadratic, exponential, logarithmic, while I gasp for air, scream, and see the light. Wood.
Bravo. Bravo.
Jesus
That's all I have to say.
Christ.
Bravo. That is cinema. That is masterfully written by a true deviant. I'm proud of that person.
You know what the worst part is?
What?
Nothing but sames in the comments.
Yeah, right. Well, look, man, they know their audience, so
yeah.